りおしまい。
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Get the Mic, the only show where your host on the left, Owl,
and your host on the right, Brock,
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. On this episode, as usual, we're talking about Dragon Ball, in particular, episode 89, Full Moon Vengeance. But before we get started, please give us a like if you like what you hear. Subscribe to our channel. We upload videos on Mondays and Thursdays on YouTube, Tuesdays and Fridays on Rumble. We'd also love to hear what you had to say in the comments. I think that's pretty good before we start. Yeah? All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Full Moon Vengeance. With Yamcha defeated, the remaining fires re-enter the waiting area. Goku comes through, having to use the bathroom after the crowd swoons over Pomput and Tien. Girls from the audience have come back to get autographs from the contestants, only to be scared off by Manwolf. Lastly, Bulma helps Yamcha limp through the hospital, and when teased by other patients, she stamps her foot down on Yamcha's broken leg. So pretty straightforward here. I only want to mention a couple things. Goku having to use the bathroom here, which we just saw in the last episode, but it's pertinent as well. Because Pomput comes in first, then Tien comes in, and then Goku comes in, and the crowd questions, like, is he really strong? All that. And I think it's to say, right, Goku showing his true vulnerabilities may make it seem like he's not here to compete, let's say, but it's because he's so integrated that he doesn't even notice that he's showing that part of himself.
Right. It's one of those things where Goku acts out that he needs to reveal himself as vulnerable by being in a vulnerable position in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so here it's also sort of one of those things where they're looking up to Tien and Pomput, not realizing that Goku is a much more accomplished fighter than they are, but he's just this immature and also innocent in a sense character, right? And so he feels, you could say someone would feel the urge to reveal themselves in a situation like that where it doesn't line up, right? Like everyone is giving all of this attention to fighters who are obviously not going to be on the level that he is. Well, I mean, it's somewhat obvious anyway.
Well,
but he's
we don't
being
know about
seen,
Pomput yet, but yeah.
but he's being seen as like as just a child, right? And so
Right.
he feels like he should reveal the way that he really is.
And I think it's also because he's under the gaze of the crowd that this is happening. Right? It's that almost that judgmental factor that happens when there's nothing in front of Goku right now. There's no arena or anything like that, and we've seen how he does on the mic. Um, he's not like,
Bashful.
yeah, he's not bashful. I mean, he was dancing with Roshi last time, right? But at the same time, it is something we've seen before. Goku revealing himself in front of the crowd.
Right.
And I think it's because of that. Now, the other thing we need to talk about is the girls getting the autographs from Pomput, Jackie Chun, and Tien. They go up to Pomput, get the autographs. They go up to Jackie Chun, get his autographs, and he says he'll give a secret kiss to them or something like that. And they actually go along with it, which is just another instance that I want to say Roshi's integrated self is not bad with the ladies.
No. Whenever Roshi is, uh, it's
He's
almost like the
almost
kayfabe
depraved,
sort of thing.
like
He when he can
literally
act it
depraved.
out literally, and it's a truthful enactment instead of it being like this is the way that the wise hermit should act.
Yeah,
Then it comes out as sort of a positive element.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so they go and get the autographs from him, and it's a pleasant experience. And then Man Wolf comes up and ruins it, and he like scares them off. Now, when they go get theirs from Tien, I think it's to say that there's an admirable quality about the competitive level that Tien is experiencing, despite the fact that he's what he's wielding to get there. And so the crowd still appreciates him and goes and gets his autograph here, and even says that Chaozu is so cute.
Well, knowing what we know also about Man Wolf and his relationship to Jackie Chun, it makes sense that he follows him around like a shadow in this sense and ruins the fun because he is sort of representative of that responsibility for the negative aspects of what you've
Mm-hmm.
done.
Right,
And so it kind of follows him around and spoils his fun.
and unfortunately so. Now, the last thing we need to mention is Bulma being embarrassed and stamping on Yamcha's leg. So they're walking here and they're called out by a dinosaur and a bear who like whistle at them, and then
Tell him to
Yamcha
get a
calls them
room or
idiots
something.
and steps on Yamcha's leg. Now, this is that idea that Bulma being called out here, it being called attention to, is what Bulma isn't able to grapple with at this point. That they are that she's not willing to give that vulnerability at this point back, right? And so she would rather make it look like she doesn't like Yamcha and hurts Yamcha instead of not. And
Yeah,
you can
actually
see this
hurts
in the
Yamcha
psyche
by acting
before.
like physically, but also in character hurts Yamcha by still
Mm-hmm.
still being unwilling to commit to him, right?
Right, exactly. And so it's a double-edged sword there. And so, I think that brings us to the next set here, where the match actually begins. Man Wolf versus Jackie Chun begins, and Man Wolf lashes out when Chun doesn't guess the source of his vengeance. Because in a flashback, Chun destroys the moon as Chaozu puts it together for the audience. That's right, because yeah. Chaozu and Tien had picked up a piece of paper from Man Wolf's pocket, and they read the newspaper clipping that said the moon was destroyed. And so
Mhm.
Chaozu kind of puts it together for the audience here, part flashback, part present day. That Man Wolf seeks revenge because Chun destroyed the moon. Man Wolf laments his ability to talk to girls, striking out towards Chun. He misses every attack. Chun realizes that he'll face Chun. Tien realizes that he'll face Chun in the semifinals as Manwolf explains his training and how he refuses to lose. Just as he's thrown into the tournament wall, Manwolf pulls out a knife as a last resort. But Chun accepts it, telling the announcer not to disqualify him. After Manwolf charges, Chun grabs the knife and throws Manwolf into the wall again, sending the knife shortly after. So we see the dominance here that Chun is able to exert. And I think one thing I left off is while this is happening, Krillin notices that Tien and Xiaozu are floating, and that's how they're able to watch the match.
Yes.
But let's start here at the beginning. So the source of his vengeance and what Man Wolf really is. Man Wolf is that responsibility that Jackie Chun has, right? It's the unexpected consequences that arise from the chaos of acting in such a way as to remove the temptation, or not temptation, but I guess temptation's fine.
Propensity or
Propensity for Goku
yeah.
to turn into a bestial form. His desire to remove that negative to protect his pupil has made it so others can't interact with that chaos and achieve that order that they are seeking. And so Manwolf here can't interact with that chaotic moon to transform into a human.
It is really funny. He points out several times in this opening sparring that they have that because of him, he can't pick up girls anymore, and it's all because of him. And he, it's too hard to get a date. Girls don't like me because I'm hairy.
Yeah.
He's saying all of these things, and he's blaming Jackie Chun for his lot, right? Because Jackie Chun removed his ability uh to encounter that chaotic
And
potential.
become man himself, right?
Yeah.
Embody the logos from just a beast, being able to grapple with the chaotic and turn it into an orderly structure. Is kind of robbed from him. But it's true. He's blaming all of that. And Chun even says, like, why don't you settle for a wolf girlfriend? He's like, I hate hairy
He's
girls.
like, "Wow, you're really picky."
Yeah.
And that's true, right? Because it's not like, again, Jackie Chun didn't turn him into a wolf, right? He was someone who was a wolf most of the time and got to be a man a little bit of the time, right?
Yeah.
So seeing how Jackie Chun would say, "Wow, that sounds like it's kind of your fault, or that's kind of your problem that you need to deal with," it makes sense.
He's like, do you have any idea what I've gone through? Not at all.
Not at all.
So, and that's right, because Jackie Chun's so integrated that he wouldn't let anything like that self consciousness bar him from talking to girls to begin with, especially with him being Chun and not Roshi, right? He's in that integrated form. And so additionally, it is what happens when deprived of that necessary need, let's say. And so he's not able to embody the logos physically, and therefore feels like it's Chun's fault that he's never able to spiritually either. Because as we see, he does have some discipline. He did train to defeat Jackie Chun here in the tournament, but it clearly wasn't enough. Not even as a 30 level martial artist.
Now, I do want to point out that there's a certain aspect of Jackie Chun where what he truly is the teacher or the master manifest here in the hierarchy. And so I see some of how Wolfman or Man Wolf, I should say, is acting as sort of an analog to that. Well, I'm not good in character, so I'm going to blame the teacher that failed me. So I'm going to lash out against the way that I was brought up, right? So I'm an animal most of the time. You can see it's like raised by wolves. It's like I'm animalistic, and so I'm going to blame the nature of just how I am as for just all of my problems, right? So I'll blame the master that came before me. I'll blame the spiritual father, and what he really needs, he's finding here, but not the approach to that thing should not be attacking it for your circumstances, right?
Right. It's not attacking the wisdom that got you here, basically.
Right.
And I also want to say that it is part of it has to do with Jackie Chun removing Goku's ability to transform. He's also removed this guy's ability to transform. Although that taking of the responsibility that Roshi's done is kind of emblemized in the bestial nature of this of Man Wolf anyways. And it's why he has to reckon with it here and square the circle 3 years later. And so the last thing, and we see the malice manifest here, is that Man Wolf pulls a knife.
Right.
A very human thing to do, by the way. And so he pulls a knife, and Jackie Chun's fine with it. Jackie Chun wants all of this spirit to be brought forth so that he can kind of measure out if it's worth helping this guy at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so he bashes him into the wall again. And then that's when he walks up and says that he'll turn him into a human. There is something admirable about Man-Wolf because he
I
does
love it.
continually get up. He does continually get up. He refuses to lose, let's say. But go ahead.
Well, sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of your
Oh,
description here.
okay. Finally realizing how to help this poor creature, Chun offers to help change Man-Wolf back. Man-Wolf refuses to throw the match, however, but Chun uses a bone to lure him out of the arena. Charging Chun once more, Man-Wolf is stunned by Jackie, who calls out for Krillin. Using hypnosis and Krillin's bald head, Chun is able to change Man-Wolf back into a human. Man-Wolf rejoices, thanking Jackie. The announcer then gears up the crowd for the next match. Chaozu versus Full Moon Head Krillin. Go ahead.
So I want to point out how this is an inversion of the fight with Goku,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Go
an
ahead.
exact inversion of it because he tells him, say uncle, right? He says, if you throw the match, I'll turn you back into a man. And of course, Man Wolf won't throw the match, just like Goku couldn't say uncle, right? And so he's in that same situation where what will turn you into a man, but subordinating yourself to the hierarchy, right? This is the thing. This is the step you need to go from beast to man,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that you have to accept to get into this hierarchy of hierarchies. And so he's telling him, look, you've brought your case to me. You've earned being a man. You've shown that you can dedicate yourself to one single cause. You can manipulate and use malice, right? So you've proved your manhood to me now. So I will honor that bargain that I made in destroying
Mm-hmm.
the moon, and I'll give you what you deserve. So he tells him, forfeit, he won't forfeit. And so it's funny that he essentially
Uses dog commands on
he
him.
tells him to sit, and then
Shake, sit,
yeah,
and then throws the bone.
he throws the bone, right? And he because he's embarrassed by that, by revealing that at the end of the day he's still just a beast, he charges at Jackie Chun. Jackie Chun just paralyzes him there in the ring and then does another inversion of the fight from before where now he brings the moon back for him while he's in the ring, which turns him back into a man.
To untransform him,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so this is Roshi taking that responsibility and saying like, "Oh, you know what? You were a man to get here, but
Yeah.
you shouldn't come at me fighting me for it. You should just come tell me that you need help."
And it's also to say, like, the problems that have arisen from my decisions as master have to be solved by me, but I will solve them as they
Right.
arise.
But
It is taking that responsibility and instantiating it further integrating Roshi. So Roshi has become more integrated by this fight.
right, and you can also see that sometimes in a story like this, the beast that would come for Jackie Chun would be able to overpower him, and that would mean the negative aspect of what he had done was more important than the positive aspect. That it would be a mistake, right?
Yeah.
But this is to show that it was not a mistake for Jackie Chun to do what he did when he did,
Right.
and that he can easily take responsibility for it because of all of the good that it's caused.
And it is good that he did it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Instead of killing Goku.
Instead of letting him die.
Yeah, exactly. So, right, and so he's able to change Man-Wolf back. Man-Wolf rejoices and then thanks him again and says that he's a really good guy. He's a good person. It's like understanding the spiritual father's wisdom, though truth can be harmful, is going to be a good thing. And realizing and appreciating that spirit is going to help propel a person further. Although he does say, now I can go hit on girls. And Roshi says, I think he probably would have trouble either way. And Krillin says he might have been better off as a wolf.
Yeah, so we see that his human form is, I mean, he's
Ugly.
dog ugly,
Ugly as
like he's a
sin.
wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the funny things that I see about that sort of, oh, it's your fault that I can't get girls, and it's really how he is no matter what,
Yeah.
right? And so all along it was his attitude and his ability to manifest himself in the world that was lacking, and so he gets the guidance from the spiritual father on Okay, well, at least now you can be on the path.
And so he goes and tries, and we never see him again. Then the announcer says it's time for Chaozu versus Full Moon Head Krillin.
Full Moon Head Krillin. So I want to talk about Full Moon Head Krillin a bit
Yes, let's talk about Full Moon Head
because
Krillin.
I also don't think it's just a gag that he pulls Krillin up there to make him make him see the full moon, right? Now you and I both have compared Krillin as being sort of an extension of both Goku and Master Roshi, right? Where he's like a tiny Roshi for Goku. It's like the shadow of Roshi's teachings are all manifest in Krillin.
Yeah.
And so Krillin really is this like shadow content sort of character who's whenever we see him, the first thing we see is that he embodies all of the negative aspects of
Well,
Roshi's
it's
character.
to show, right? It's to show Man Wolf that instantiating oneself in the world unbestially is taming that shadow.
But also saying, look at Krillin, this is a man. These are the negative aspects of myself that have been extracted out, right? Not fully, right? Because it's the grappling with those negative aspects that builds
Well,
Krillin up.
Krillin's done that, right?
But showing like you could be short in stature and in character and be bald and have no extension of yourself in the world like Krillin is and be considered a man. And so
Because the moon reflects the sun, right? Which would be
right.
Roshi in this case.
And so the negative aspects of the spiritual father that manifest and take shape in the world can still reflect the wisdom of the spiritual father.
Precisely. It's just an extension of it, which that wisdom allows him to embody then his logos, which is his human form.
Or his son.
Yeah. And then he looks ugly as sin.
Which is hilarious.
It's great. So Full Moon Head Krillin will fight next time. I think that's a good spot. Do you have any final closing? Oh, one thing we do need to mention. The Crane Hermit kids being able to fly.
Of course. What Krillin says is now how are we gonna be able to knock them out of the arena?
Well, this would be the technique that Crane would teach them, right? Cranes can fly. The whole idea of looking down upon the adversaries, your adversaries, let's say,
right.
and even those who are moral, looking down on those who follow rules that it's not discipline based.
It's not following the rules of anybody else.
Right.
It's considering yourself to be part of a separate set of rules.
All of that is tied into why they can fly, right? And specifically not being able to get knocked out of the ring being that they can kind of control the boundaries that they set the grounds for. And that's because they've kind of superseded over the idea of not understanding the hierarchy. They can understand hierarchies to such an extent
that they manipulate it.
Yeah, and so they're not able to be thrown out of one because they already know it. They would have to be unconscious.
They have full control over the space.
Yes. In time and space, and place is a place. Yes. And so the hierarchy itself is not something that they're going to be unable to fathom. It's kind of like riding a bike. You can't forget it.
Right. It's to say that the force of your attack, in and of itself, is not going to be the thing that takes me out of this. Right?
The revelation of a new thing isn't going to diminish the idea of the hierarchy that we already have instantiated.
Right.
And so we're going to see how Krillin deals with that next time. And I think that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Great. Well, if you guys like what you heard, please give us a like. Subscribe to our channel. We upload new episodes Mondays and Thursdays on YouTube, Tuesdays and Fridays on Rumble. Give us a subscribe. We'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments as well. I'm your host on the left, Al.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
We hope you guys have a good night.
I want you to ask that girl there if she'd like to go on a walk with